everyone. Today we're continuing with our learning. Today we are doing we're answering questions on algebra. Okay. We are told to solve x if we're given x minus 40 is equal to 0. Okay, we are told to solve x if we have this equation. The steps of solving x, please remember them, guys, from the previous video, from lesson 1 rather, that whenever you solve brackets, you need to remove fractions, surds, and brackets. In this case, we have brackets. How can we remove brackets? This is the only bracket we have. So if you have something like this and a squared here, we will just have 3 terms. Are you together? So how can we find those 3 terms? For the first term, you just need to square the first number here, then you'll get x squared. Then for the last term of the 3 terms, you just need to square the negative 2, you'll get a positive 4. And then for us to find the middle term, just multiply these two. X times the negative 2 is negative 2x. Whatever answer we get here, we multiply it by the exponent. So you'll get minus 4x. And then you still have that minus 40 over there equal to 0. Now we don't have brackets. All we need to do is to make this thing to be on standard form. We have x squared minus 4x minus 36 is equal to 0. Right together. There are no factors of 36. That's when you subtract, will give us 4. So what can we do? We can use our quadratic equation. B squared minus 4ac all over 2a. I know that the value of a is 1, the number in front of x squared, and the value of b, the number in front of x, is negative 4, and then c is the constant term. So I just need to substitute everything on my formula. So I know that x will be equal to minus a negative 4 plus or minus a negative 4 squared minus 4ac over 4a. All together. So in this case, a negative 4 times a negative 4 will get a positive number, plus or minus. Here I'll get a 16 plus 144 all over 4. All over 4. And then when I punch this to the calculator, I must just have I must just have 4 plus the square root of 160 over 4, or 4 minus the square root of 160 all over 4. Then I'll get my 2 solutions rounded off to 2 decimal places. Alright, together. I used plus and the minus because this thing here is for plus or minus. But please don't leave your answers like this. Whenever you're writing your exam or test, just punch your calculator and round them off to 2 decimal places. B, I'm supposed to solve x, and I have what? I have brackets there. So the first thing I need to do is to remove the brackets. Are you together? The first term will multiply both the terms on the other side, such that I'll have what? X squared minus 5x. And then secondly, the second term on the first bracket will do the same thing. We'll multiply both terms on the other bracket, and I'll have negative 7x plus 35. This thing is all equal to 3. And then I'll have x squared minus 12x plus 35 is equal to 3. Add it together. And then from here I'll have x squared minus 12x plus 35. When the 3 goes to the other side, it becomes negative. So we'll have 35 minus 3. We'll get 32 is equal to 0. And then we factorize. We have x. The factors of 32, that's when we add, will give us 12. Those are 8 and 4. Minus and minus. Please go check the first lesson if you're struggling with factorizing together, because I believe I explained everything there. Please go and check the first video. And if I have two things multiplied and the answer is 0, it simply means x is equal to 8 or x is 4. Just like that. And then for the third one, I have surds. 2x minus 9 plus 6 is equal to x. For me to solve x, I must not have surds, square roots, and brackets. Square roots, surds, brackets, and fractions. I'm so sorry. Surds, brackets, and fractions. If I have surds, I must isolate the part that has surds and then put everything on the other side. So in this case, I'll just have 2x minus 9 is equal to x minus 6. Right, together. For me to remove surds, if it's a square root, I just need to square both sides. Right, together. And when I do that, I'll have 2x minus 9. On the other side, I'll have x squared minus 12x plus 36. Right, together. Then I must put everything to be on standard form. I'll take these two guys to the other side. I'll have x squared minus 12x, and then I'll have negative 2x, because when this thing jumps an equal sign, it changes its sign. Yeah? Then I'll have what? Plus 36, and then this guy will also change the sign, plus 9. They're all equal to 0. Then I'll have x squared minus 14x plus 45 is equal to 0. Alright, together. The most important thing I forgot to do, when I got here, I was supposed to write my restriction. That x minus 6 should be greater or equal to 0. Alright, together. That means x should be greater or equal to 6, because whenever I have a square root, it should be equal to a number which is greater or equal to 0. Alright, together. There's nothing I can put under a square root and get a negative number. So when I have a square root on one side, after the equal sign, whatever number that is there should be greater or equal to 0. So it's important for me to write a restriction, because I will know which of my roots are applicable or not. Alright, together. So here I must just factorize. I want the factors of 45. That's when I add, will give me 14, and those are 9 and 5. Minus and minus. So x is equal to 9, or x is 5. Right, together. So however, this one, let me not even underline it. This one is not applicable. Why? because it's not greater or equal to 6. This number is less than 6. And this one, therefore x is 9 only. If you didn't write the restriction, all you can do is to just take both your x values, substitute them here, and if you find out that the left hand side is not equal to the right hand side, then that answer is not applicable. But whenever you substitute an x value and you find out the left hand side is equal to the right hand side, then that is your answer. For the fourth one, we have 2 squared minus x all squared minus 7. There's 2x here minus x plus 6. Okay, please note, guys, that we can only for now in this level we can only factorize a quadratic polynomial or a cubic polynomial altogether. In this case, whenever I try to remove brackets, because the first step says remove brackets, I will have 4x to the power 4, because when I square this thing, I'll get 4x to the power 4, which I cannot factorize altogether. But there is a tool in maths that can help us to deal with things that may look complex but they are not altogether. It's called a K-method substitution. If ever you see things that are common and you just want to make your equation look as simple as possible, just introduce K altogether. I know that I have 2x squared minus x, and I also have it here. So I can just say let 2x squared minus x to be equal to k. So whenever I see 2x squared minus x, I'll just substitute with k. So that means I'll have k squared minus 7k plus 6 is 0. So now it's simple. I can work with this equation altogether. I want the factors of 6 that when I add will give me 7. Those are what? 6 and 1. The sign here is plus, that means my brackets will have the same sign, minus and minus. But it's not just any sign. Please remember that it's always the sign of the middle term. So k is 6 or k is 1 altogether. But initially I was not solving for k. K is just a tool to help me find the solutions easy. So immediately when I know the value of k, I'll put back this thing whenever I see k. So I'll therefore say 2x squared minus x is 6, or let me write it in a different color. Two x squared minus x is 1 altogether. Okay, for me to solve x, I must not have fractions, brackets and surds. I don't have them here, so I move to the second step, put everything in standard form. I'll have 2x minus x minus 6 is equal to 0 altogether. The third step says make the value of a to be positive. It is positive. If possible, make it to be equal to 1. In this part, I cannot make it to be equal to 1 because when I try to divide by 2, I'll have a fraction, and I don't want to work with fractions altogether. So I just leave it like this and then move to the fourth step. To the fourth step, which says factorize. Whenever you factorize, all along we were factorizing when the value of a was not equal to 1, but right now the value of k, we were factorizing when the value of k was 1, but right now the value of a is not equal to 1. Are you together? So how can we do that? If the value of a is not equal to 1, we focus on both on two sets of factors, the factors of this term and this term. Are you together? How so? We will say the factors of 2, they are only 2 and 1. Are you together? And the factors of 6 is 3 and 2. Are you together? So here we just want to know whenever you subtract the combination of these factors, because here it says minus, we must get the number in front of x squared, which is 1. So when I say 2 multiplied by 2, I get 4. When I say 1 multiplied by 3, I get 3. Whenever I subtract the 2, 4 minus 3, I will get 1. Are you together? So these two will become my brackets. So when I write, I'll just write them as 2x and 3, x and 2, just like this. Are you together? And then how do I assign the signs? Which brackets will have minus, which one will have a plus? Because the sign here says minus, it simply means our bracket will have two different signs. Are you together? The other brackets will have a plus, the other one will have a minus. Okay. The bracket, I always say that the bracket that will yield to a higher integer value will take the sign of the middle term. How so? If you have 2x equaling 3, that means x is 3 over 2. But if I have x is equal to 2 on this bracket, the first bracket I have x is equal to 3 over 2. The second one I have x is equal to 2. 2 is greater than 3 over 2. It simply means that the bracket that yields an x value which is greater will take the sign of the middle term. Since this bracket will give me a greater answer, it will win the sign of the middle term. It will go here, the other one will come here. And then x is equal to negative 3 over 2, x is 2. And then on the second one, do the same thing, standard form, then factorize. Same thing applies, 2 and 1, factors of 1 are just 1 and 1. When I multiply, I get 2, when I multiply, I get 1. When I subtract, I do get the middle term, because 2 minus 1 is 1. So these will become my brackets. I will have 2x and 1, x and 1. I'll do the same thing for the signs. Which brackets will give me a greater value? The first one will say, the first one will give me 2x is 1, then x is a half. The other one is just x is equal to 2. So this bracket, not 2 man. So this bracket will give me a greater answer, because 1 is greater than half. So the sign of the middle term will come here, and then la, I'll have an opposite sign. So x is equal to negative half, or x is 1. So all of these are my solution. Okay, for the fifth one, Fifth one. Is equal to 0. Here you just need to factorize by grouping. You can factorize by factorizing a cubic function, but you can also get away with grouping. Whenever you consider the first two terms, the common term between them is x squared, and then I'll be left with x minus 2. And whenever I consider the last two terms, I can take out a negative outside, and the x will be positive, the 2 will be negative. All right, together. I have a common factor here. My common factor is x minus 2, and whenever I take it out, I'll be left with x squared and 1 there, equal to 0. Then I have x minus 2, x minus 1, because the difference of two squares, and x plus 1. And then this will give me x is 2, x is 1, or x is negative 1. Then for the sixth one, I'm looking at my numbering here on this tutorial. ETFG. Okay. The alphabetical order is the best accordion. Okay. Before we move, the first problem I come across is yes, I do know that I have fractions. I need to multiply everything by the LCD, but when I do so, I have an x squared here, and this x squared will multiply with this one, and I will have x to the power 4, which I can't factorize. Therefore, I must just resort to my K method, né? But I can't just use K method if I don't have things that are common. I must try to make this guy to look exactly like this. So I'll have x squared minus 5x plus 2, and then at the denominator I can take out a negative value. Whenever I do so, the x squared becomes positive, the 5x becomes negative, the 2 is positive. Alright, together. And I'm dividing a positive 4 and a negative number. I must definitely get a positive, so I can just erase this and just write a negative there rather, because whenever you divide a negative and a positive, you must get a negative number. So now I can say let x squared minus 5x plus 2 equal to k. Alright, together. So I'll have what? K minus 4 over k is 0. Then I'll start solving then. I'll start solving. Whenever I multiply everything by k, I'll have k squared minus 4 is equal to 0. K 2 minus plus, because the difference of two squares, né? Then k is 2, or k is minus 2. But I wasn't solving for k. K was just a tool to help me. Whenever I see k, I must put this guy back. So what I'll say x squared minus 5x plus 2 is equal to 2, or x squared minus 5x plus 2 is equal to a negative 2. Whenever I solve here, it's just simple. I'll just have x squared minus 5x plus 4. Because this thing must jump the equal sign to put it in standard form, and I'll have 2 plus 2, which is 4. I want the factors of 4, that's when I add will give me 5. Is 4 and 1. Minus and minus. Since my constant term is positive, I'll have the same sign. The bracket will have the same sign, but not just any sign, the sign of the middle term. So x is 4, or x is 1. And then in this case, I'll have x squared minus 5x is equal to 0. Because whenever the 2 jumps to the other side of the equation, I'll have 2 minus 2, which is 0. I can take out a common factor here. So x is 0, or x is 5. Are we together when the goes? So this is how we solve. This is how you solve quadratic equations. So now I want to do whenever I'm given a simultaneous equation. Whenever I'm given simultaneous equation. Nah, let's do simultaneous equation tomorrow. Let's just focus on solving here. Here we have extra 2. We have 2 extra equations here. Let me write in blue. Number 1, okay, here I have sets, and for me to solve x, I must try to remove sets. Are you together? So I have 2 sets of sets. I cannot just square both sides when it's like this. Are you together? But all I can do is to isolate one set at a time. So I'll have 2x plus 3 is equal to excuse me, is equal to 1 plus then I must obviously square both sides. In this other side I'll have this, and on the other side I'll have 1 when I square 1, I get 1. For me to find the middle term, I multiply these 2. Whatever answer I get, I must multiply with the 2. That's why I had this. And then when I square this set, the square root will be removed, and then I'll be left with that thing. So I'll have 2x plus 3 is equal to 1, not 1 rather. One plus 1 is 2, and I have x as well, and then I have what? 2x plus 1. Are you together? I must also isolate the set that has. I must also isolate this set as well and put everything on the other side. Are you together? Whenever I take x to the other side, I'll have 2x minus x, which will give me x, and I'll have 3 minus 2, which will give me a positive 1. I'll do the same thing again, square both sides. When I do that, I'll have x squared plus 2x plus 1. On this side I'll have 4 multiplied by x plus 1. I'll have x squared plus 2x plus 1 is equal to 4x plus 4. This thing here is x squared minus 2x minus 4x is negative 2x, and then I'll have 1 minus 4, which will give me negative 3. All this is equal to 0. All this is equal to 0. Then I'll have x and x there. I'll have a 3 and a 1. I'll have a 3 and a 1. And then I will have minus and plus because I have a negative, and I was told that not that I was told, whenever I factorize, if the sign is negative, my bracket should have different signs, and the bigger factor between the two factors must take the sign of the middle term. 3 is bigger than 1, so 3 will take the sign of the middle term. So x is equal to 3, or x is negative 1. Are we together? X is 3 or negative 1. And then for the second one, I have 4 3x squared plus x and 1, and then I have let me check, I have minus 10 3x squared plus x minus 1 over 3x squared plus x is equal to 7. Okay, I must multiply everything by the LCD here, but even in this case, when I do so, this guy will multiply this one, then I'll have 9x to the power 4, which I cannot deal with. So what I'll do, I'll just say let 3x squared plus x to be equal to k. Whenever I see 3x squared plus x, I'll just put k, because it's the only thing that is common. I have 4 and I have k plus 1. I'll have 10 k minus 1 all over k is equal to 7. Now I can multiply everything by the LCD. I'll have 4k, k here, plus 1 minus 10 minus 10. Okay, let me just write it like this, and then here I'll have 7k because I multiplied both everything by the LCD. After doing that, now I must remove brackets. 4k times k is 4k squared plus 4k. This is equal to 10k plus 10, 7k like this, nah? And then I'll have 4k squared minus 6k, because a negative 10 plus 4 plus 4 will give me negative 6. Then I'll have 10 here. Now I must put everything to be on standard form. I'll have 13k plus 10 is 0. I must check for factors. That's when I add will give me 13, and I must check for factors for both 4 and 10. Né? If I have, let's start with 2 and 2. Né? The 5 and 2 here. Whenever we multiply, we have 4. Here we have 10. Add together. And whenever we add these things, we don't get 13, but we get 14. Are you together? So these ones, they won't work. This combination, it will not work. So let's try having 4 and 1. I know that 4 times 2 will give me 8. 1 times 5 will give me 5. When I add, I'll have 13. So these will become my brackets. Are we together? So I know that I'll have 4k and 5k and 2. The sign here, it's positive, so it's easy. I'll just have the same signs, but not just any sign, the sign of the middle term. It will be minus and minus. So k will be 5 over 4, or k will be 2. But I wasn't solving for k. K was just a tool. So whenever I see k, I must bring back this guy. Bring back Nelson Mandela. X squared plus x is 4, or 3x squared plus x is 2. Let me start with this one. Here I'll just have plus x minus 2 is 0. Are you together? And then I'll factorize. I'll have 3x and 2 here, x and 1. I'll have a plus here and a minus. X is 2 over 3, or x is negative 1. And then in this case, the first thing I must do, I must multiply everything by LCD. Means I'll have 12x squared plus 4x is equal to 5. 12x squared plus 4x is equal to 0. Whenever I factorize, I must look at the factors of both numbers. Let's start with 4 and 3, 5 and 1. This times this is 15, this 2 is 4. When I subtract, I get 11, I don't get 4. So let's try the other sets of factors. Let's try 6 and 2. 6 times 1 is 6, 1 times 2 times 5 rather, is 10. When I subtract, I get 4. 10 minus 6 is 4. So these are my brackets. I'll have 6x, 5, 2x, and 1. X and 1. The sign of the middle term will come here, and then here it will be the alternate sign. This is how you solve quadratic equations, guys. Whenever you have sets, brackets, fractions, this is how you solve them. I hope you guys understood everything, and this video was productive. You learned a lot probably. Please subscribe and follow me on TikTok. It's Best Academy 2023. Yeah, please stay tuned for more videos. There are more videos coming every day. Bye guys.